Hey up lads and lasses, Damphyre here, back again with some more Infinite Lagrange. Today we are looking at the Guardian, because I thought it makes sense. We did the Tundra last video, Guardian in this video, probably Series in the next video, because they all fill similar roles and stuff like that. The Guardian and the Tundra, like I mentioned I think at the Tundra video, they are kind of like on par. The Guardian for me provides slightly better AA damage, but generally speaking, I wouldn't bring it in as an AA ship. They're not that good. I've seen like 5-10 minute battles where they do like 50k AA, so you know, it's pretty poor, to be honest with you. You need like 200 AA to really be classified as an AA ship, in my opinion. So I wouldn't bring them in as an area denial aircraft, well, anti-aircraft thing at all. You can, however, bring them in for the repair UAVs, and the repair UAVs are okay. It's the same as the Tundra, really. Tundra, I think, gets slightly better healing than this, but it's quite minuscule. You don't get any healing mods upgrades, which is a bit unfortunate, but you do get triple cooldown, which is actually quite nice. My recommendation for this ship, you get 5 slots, just go straight into the UAV system, pick up the triple cooldown, and pick up the reduced chance of being hit by guided weapons. This will give it a little bit of survivability. This does apply to the ship itself. It does not apply to UAVs. They can't get targeted. And then finishing it off with emergency repairs. You can hold on emergency repairs. Emergency repairs is a bit of a double-edged sword. It sounds quite good, but generally speaking, it's not particularly great. What really happens here is, if the Guardian is targeted and it gets down to that 20%, it quite likely dies before the strategy sort of triggers properly and it starts healing itself. You also got to bear in mind that this strategy only applies to its own drone, so it's only healing itself for 100% with one drone. Fair enough, a couple of the other Guardians may be healing it as well, but yeah, generally speaking, it's dead regardless anyway. But you know, the lock-on speed, you could maybe supplement instead. Drop the emergency repairs, pick up the battlefield radar enhancement, but I'll leave that decision up to you guys. I do pick it up. It has, you know, it sometimes triggers. It does save the Guardian, but the thing is, it is still targeted. So even if it does heal back up to full, it's probably going to die at some point regardless anyway. After that, you can go into the situational awareness system. This is what I quite like this ship, because it has a 30% base missile evasion anyway, and you can get a little bit more. You can get another 20% from the reduced, from the guidance detection jamming, and you can actually get a bit from direct fire weapons as well. It's only about 15% here, but this brings you up to about 20% missile hit evasion, plus the 10%, you're around 60% missile evasion. So these things can actually stick around quite well, which is actually really quite nice, to be honest with you. After that, going into the armor system, picking up the 2 HP. I don't personally pick up the physical resistances until pretty much at the end on this thing. Going into the storm missile system next, where you do pick up anti-aircraft support. This gives your missiles the ability to launch attacks within the same row if anything is being attacked in the same row. So you do get a little bit of coverage, which is actually really quite nice. And like I said, this thing actually does okay on AA, but it is not an AA ship. You do get hit rate for missiles and torps, 2% and 2.5%, which is quite good. This is going to be what you want to be picking up. I do pick up the hit rate against frigates, destroyers here as well, because, you know, 80 damage, it can target frigates and it can do some amount of damage to him, so you may as well pick it up. I then pick up the double cooldown and one of the lock-on efficiencies. So you end up with double hit rate, double cooldown, lock-on efficiency, and you can, and the strategy, so the anti-aircraft support. If you don't fancy the lock-on, or if you don't fancy the hit rate against frigates, destroyers, you want to give it a bit more purely against AA, pick up the lock-on, don't pick up the hit rate against frigate destroyers, and pick up one of the damage mods. You do get reasonable damage out of this, so 10% buffs, 8 extra damage, which is actually not too bad, so it does hit a little bit harder, and then you add on an extra 80, so now you're doing 168 damage. So, it's okay, you know. Like I said, it's not going to win any prizes. This does have the same thing as the Tundra, where it gives it strategic strike. I have brought this up with the developers yet again, because going through the Tundra and going, why is this still here? Kind of won't wow me up a little bit. So I pinged a comment back off to them saying, you don't see destroyers supporting the aircraft from your aircraft fighter in real life, do you? Or is that just a Chinese, you know, naval capacity at the current moment? And apparently I've been told, wait for the next update, they may change it. So bear that in mind. This may get removed from the Guardian, but yeah, it's generally speaking same as the Tundra. It shouldn't be on this ship specifically. It should be on its dual purpose, which we'll talk about shortly. In the propulsion system, completely up to you. You can go double cruising speed or double warping speed. Again, with the changes where everything now just flies at 1200 after a little bit of time. Cruising speed just sort of reduces the time it gets to 1200, and that puts you in a position where it's like, well, probably best going double warp speed, single cruising speed. It's kind of what I've been running. If there's warp speed, I tend to pick the warp speed over the cruising speed nowadays. It is a little bit slow at 650, and it's going to take 423 seconds to get to 1200, but it's going to get there eventually. Does it really matter? Probably not. I think it goes up to about 750, somewhere around there, if you do pick up one cruising, and then you get around 900 with 2 cruising module upgrades. Over onto the dual purpose. Now, this is a little gem of a ship. I personally, unfortunately, don't run it too often anymore, and that's due to the fact that I don't really run Swarm too much. I run Hybrid, which means instead of having about 120 aircraft in fleet, I only have 80, so I don't actually need the you know, extra carrying capacity of Guardian dual purpose, Tundras or Series. Even Predators and Jaegers don't make my fleet anymore with only 5 solar whales in fleet. So yeah, this is unfortunately on a bit of a back burner, which is a bit of a shame because it was a good ship when I was using it. Reason I quite liked it is if you go into the Corvette system, you can get triple damage mods. Triple damage and a hit rate is what you go for. That's your 4. There is an option to go for the cooldown instead. I went triple damage hit rate, but triple damage cooldown's quite popular. Double damage cooldown hit rate is quite popular. There's probably even a chance for, you know, running the missile evasion of the aircraft as well. Generally speaking, though, my best success has always been with triple damage and hit rate. And then I would stick cellular defenders on here, which have quite a high damage number, which, you know, makes them smack hard. Now, potentially even better, you could put Levy 9s on here. And, you know, giving Levy 9s an extra 30% damage is, for the first 2 rounds with that massive damage boost that they get, is going to be really quite nasty. So don't sleep on this one. Otherwise, after that, it's pretty much the same upgrade path as the support. Whereas you don't have the situational awareness system. You get this energy system, which actually doesn't do anything. So after that, going into the armor, picking up double HP upgrades, pick up the armor at the end, going into its support weapon system here. This used to work where you get sinks all aircraft with its weapon system and reduces cooldown by 60% every 90 seconds for 25 seconds. And then you can mix this with prioritized carriers and it would attack carriers. However, a patch at some point has broken this. This did work about 2 years ago, I believe it was, when I last properly ran this thing in fleets. So yeah, focus fire, aircraft fire and prioritize on carriers does not work. It just doesn't work. So I would personally be ignoring both of these when you are upgrading this weapon system. Go for your missile hit rates, both of them. Go for your double cooldown. Go for your lock-on efficiency. And I believe you actually have like 2 slots left or 1 slot left. Double cooldown, double hit rate, lock-on efficiency, double damage. Is what you go for here, because this weapon system does not do enough damage to really warrant it firing at carriers at any point, and you want it to try and hit sort of corvettes and fighters anyway. It has got, you know, some capability of doing some AA. We have anti-aircraft support, so it's going to target the same row. You have the aircraft cycle, the high speed strike, and you know the additional damage there. So that's probably my that's probably the best way to set this up now. It used to work where you go sinks all aircraft, you prioritize carriers. Whenever this triggered, all of your aircraft that was on this would prioritize carriers, and it was really good to get loads of damage output. Like I said, with cellular defenders or something in here with triple damage mods, now firing at carriers because of this weapon system's sinking them with the prioritized carrier. Used to be really good. Unfortunately, not so much anymore. Again, after that, same as the support, you can drop into the propulsion system. I'm picking up double warp speed and cruising speed now, but if you fancy double cruising speed, warp speed, it's up to you. You can do some funky things with this when the chance, that's the standard one that you can get, I think, in both systems, actually. There is one where I think you can move it to back row or something, or is it on the Corvette maintenance system? It's got the lock-on speed. That was the one. So you can increase the lock-on speed of aircraft in the hangar by 15%. If you grab that, you don't have to take the where is it? Oh, it doesn't have lock-on speed on this one. I thought it did. Never mind. So you can ignore me entirely there. It's just a nice little upgrade you can pick. I'm not sure which SAR systems this one's available in. I haven't picked it up myself, so it's probably data. Have I run the data? I have ran data since that patch. I'm not sure. It's one of the ones that I haven't run, and I think I've done data, Trojite, and the current one, which is the security. So yeah, I think it's Dawn Accord or 2.0 or whatever they call it now, is the one I'm missing. After dual purpose, you have the pulse cannon type. This is actually quite a good ship. It's just behind the Taurus in terms of damage output, and it's mostly due to the fact that it just doesn't have the tank of the Taurus. It has very similar damage output. In this case, if you are going to run the pulse variant, run double HP first. You're going to need it because it is just going to die horrendously quickly without it. Move into its secondary system, and you can get the cooldown first before moving into the main system, where for me personally, picking up double hit rate against frigates, destroyers, I ignore the fighters, corvettes on this system. I go for the extra double cooldown here as well. So you go double hit rate, double cooldown, and then you can go double pulse damage and finish it off with the concentrate fire periodically. It's not a particularly great system, this, the concentrate fire periodically, but generally speaking, I find it's probably got more use than hitting fighters and corvettes or going for the lock-on efficiency, mostly due to the fact that it is only a counter-attack. So you kind of want the weapons firing at the enemy small ships anyway, and that's what these things are going to do. They're going to shoot at destroyers, frigates, unless they're taking damage from fighters, where they will shoot at other things. But you can see here we have 345 damage per hit, double damage on it, double cooldown on it, extra cooldown from the pulse energy system. You've already got a 15% damage like bonus inbuilt, and you can pick up the extra damage bonus as well after that. And I've seen reports of it doing similar damage to Taurus, like I said. However, like I also mentioned, it hasn't got the tanking capability of the Taurus. It has no innate dodge rate. The health is lower, I believe, on this than the base Taurus as well. So it just doesn't stick around quite as much. And again, for the prop system, double warp speed, cruising speed is what I'd go for, but feel free to go double cruising warp speed. So, Guardian, quite an interesting ship. Again, the support gets out sort of overshadowed quite early on, quite quickly, by a couple of other ships. The dual purpose, still completely and utterly usable, especially in a swarm fleet. However, if you don't run swarm and you do run hybrid, you won't find too much use of it, maybe in a secondary fleet, although you do still tend to use some aircraft in hybrid, which means your dual purpose kind of gets left with like unfortunately not the best, corvettes to carry into battle. After that, the pulse cannon, really good damage output, same damage output almost as the Taurus. It just hasn't got the staying power, which is a touch unfortunate. But you know, it can't have everything, right? It's got pretty good usability all around. It's very versatile in the the variants that you get, which is quite nice. So yeah, I think it's a great looking ship. It is pretty cool. Kind of reminds me of like an Enterprise or something of that nature, Star Trekky. So thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll catch you next time.